What's going on, everybody? I hope you guys are all doing amazing, because today we're gonna be beating Elden Ring only using claws. Claws are a class I wanted to record for a while now, and finally today is the day. These weapons completely blew my mind on how much damage these could put out, but I'm gonna keep the intro pretty short. I'm just gonna ask you guys one time this whole video, please like and subscribe if you like this video, because it would really help me out a lot. But that's all I have to say, so enjoy the video. I opened the door to the world of the Elden Ring, and then right off the bat started trying to beat up the local wildlife. I picked up some kukris for the Knight's Cavalry leader, and then I went to go grab my spectral steed from the grace that Melina meets you at. I made my way through Limgrave so I can go get the wondrous physic at the Third Church of America. After that, I went to Caelid because we were gonna go pick up our first fist weapon. Our first fist weapon is located in the abandoned cave in Dragonbarrow. Now, if I'm gonna be honest, I had no clue where I was going, but I eventually located it, and with the sliver of health left, I barely grabbed it before dying. I've only think I've ever used these once in one of my viewer builds, but honestly, the poison buildup was really nice, and I was looking forward to it. Next up, I took the warp gate all the way to Dragonbarrow because I wanted to go kill the Knight's Cavalry there that gives you 40k for free. Melina took me to the round table, and I went up Storm Hill because I wanted to grab the golden seed. To get Assassin's Gambit as quickly as possible, I went around Stormville all the way to pay a visit to Mrs. Scoliosis. After talking to her, she told me to retrieve her necklace, but I grabbed the dexterity knot first. I went to Bargar and bought the necklace, and then went on a smithing stone gathering run. Since I was here, I also grabbed Bloodflame Blade. If you're wondering why I'm grabbing these smithing stones, is because there's a lot of 2s and 3s here I can use to power up my weapon really early on in the game. Since I was here, I stopped by the Raya Lucaria crystal tunnel because the crystallion at the bottom drops the smithing stone bell bearing. When I think of a fist weapon, I think of it doing a lot of damage and doing barely any stance damage at all. But to my surprise, this actually did quite a bit of stance damage. Obviously not more than a longsword or a hammer, but it was still pretty good. Anyways, after I killed the crystallion, I got myself the smithing stone miner's bell bearing. I went to Master Hugh because I wanted to upgrade my weapon as soon as possible, like I said earlier. And then I went back to Raya because I wanted to give her necklace back. Next up on the list was getting both Dectus medallions from both forts. After I grabbed the one in Fort Ferrith, I went to Fort Height to get the other one. After I grabbed it, I might as well grab the cookbook used to make bleed grease. Sadly, I won't be able to use this when I infuse this with cold later on, but it'll still be useful very early on in the game. Grabbing the Faith Knot tier here ensured that I would be able to use Golden Vow later on if I had 13 Faith. So, in order to get 13 Faith, I needed to find a way to get a little bit of cash. So I started by killing this Erd Tree in the Weeping Peninsula. This guy was doing a little annoying attacks, but eventually I killed this guy. I made my way to the lift to take Raya's hand at the top so she could teleport me to Volcano Manor. In order to buy Assassin's Gambit, you only need to go talk to Tanith and join the Volcano Manor. You literally just only have to do that and nothing else. But the next buff I was going to get on my list was Howl of Shabriri, and this was located in the Frenzy Flaming Tower. Luckily, it wasn't very hard to get to. On my way to Golden Vow, I grabbed a Stone Sword key, and now it's time for Margit. Thankfully, Margit at the stage of the game that I'm currently in is never going to be a single challenge, because I'm always way too overpowered to fight this guy. But I kind of have a reason for it, because I take all the time to power up at the start, so I don't have to do a lot later. But anyways, it didn't take a long time for me to proc a poison on Margit. I don't know how I feel about the poison, to be honest, because I would much rather have something like, say, bleed. Even though we had bleed grease, it still wouldn't be better as a passive bleed on a regular weapon. But going back to the fight, thankfully Margit wasn't too much of a trouble. This talisman located in the High Road Cave raises your physical damage with the lower equipment weight, and since I always like to run light load, I figured this would be a really good choice. And this dude started sprinting into a wall, and I'm not sure if he knows he's in a little tiny cave as an arena, but I killed him. After I killed him, I got awarded with the Blue Dancer charm. The next talisman that I wanted to grab was locked behind a demi-human queen. Luckily, she's never too much of a pain to fight, but the chest behind that was locked behind her held the ritual sword talisman. This was going to be crazy good because I'm not going to upgrade my health too much anyway. After picking up a couple golden seeds up the way, I went to grab the Smithing Stone Miner's Bell Bearing 2 from the chest. After I grabbed this, now I figured that it would be time to go explore Stormville, but there is first a specific weapon I have to grab. Before that, I grabbed the Whetstone Blade so I can customize my Ashes of War at a Site of Grace. And then I had to take this path that I usually do not take, but it's going to be worth it. Not gonna lie, I've never grabbed this weapon before, so I didn't know what to expect, but I mean, it wasn't like bad or anything, but I did kind of get rushed by like 60 people. My plan was just to crawl around this guy since he couldn't really see me because of all these boxes. But then Timothy came up behind me, which blew my cover. Oh, you think that's all? Jimmy and Jimmy Jr. just randomly showed up, and then I don't even know what this guy was hiding behind a box for. Just for the cherry on top, he threw a fireball at me while I was running away. But after I got out of there, I just took my normal way because Assassin's Gambit just makes it a breeze to get through the Stormville Castle. I grabbed Godric's Grace later on because I wanted to activate his Great Rune once I killed him. So I grabbed his Grace so I didn't have to run all the way back after after I killed him. But might as well run up Sprinting Simulator because that's kind of what it felt like for the next 5 minutes. But eventually, after a long ways of running, I got to this room and pulled down an elevator. Taking this way all the way through to the saluted cell side of Grace is just way better than getting mauled by the birds guarding the other path. But once I got there, I got ready to fight Godric. So before I did anything, I popped all my buffs. And as the fight first began, he lunged towards me, so I strafed the attack and ran behind him. You can also notice that I put grease on my blades so I could also get extra blood buildup. Or at least I think that's how that works. But after this little hammer attack thingy, I caught him off with a lot of damage, and he's now entering his second phase. But before he entered his second phase, I managed to proc another bleed, which was actually amazing. And then at the start of the second phase, oh my, look at his health bar just drop. If this is only plus 12 and it's doing this much damage, I am so curious to see how it does later on in the game. But now that Godric was dead, you know what that means. We're heading back to go acquire his Great Rune. On the path to go restore his Great Rune, if you just stick on the right side, this guy on the left actually won't hit you. But I guess I did something wrong because I got pounded into the ground. Other than getting pounded by the dude on the left, I got through the other golems pretty easily. And then I made my way up to the top of the tower to restore Godric's Great Rune. After this, I was going to kill Renala, so I picked up the key that allowed me to use the South Raya Lucaria gate. Getting through this place is normally a pain, but with the combination of Kukri's and Assassin's Gambit, it was pretty easy. The only hard part for me is the first little church where the skeletons drop on you, but after I got past that, I mean, I did get grabbed unconsensually, but it's okay. I won't call the cops this time. I'll give him 2 strikes. And then just if that wasn't enough, the whole dog adoption center started chasing me. I could have just sensed that these dogs were sniffing my toes, so I ran for my life. And just as that elevator came up, I knew that I was going to be hopefully safe to jump down here. And hey, look at that. I was right. There's 3 of them just chasing me. Don't want to have any more experiences with these guys. Worst enemies in the game, by far. Anyways, up next was to give little doggy a treat. And those treats were some metal claws straight to the face with bleed. Grabbing this glintstone wet blade allowed me to infuse my claws with the cold affinity now. Now it is time for Renala, so I started making my way up, but I had to go through Moongrum, and I wasn't gonna mess with the sky because I'm not getting parried again. That's it. Thankfully, using a combinations of these Kukris did not even let Moongrum see me. Oh, just kidding, he found me. Of course, I also sent the elevator up on accident. Great. I don't know how I fought Renala so much and just found this out, but her children are ankle biters. How did that little bite make my character flop? Am I playing as LeBron James? But luckily for me, pairing this with the cold affinity was actually really good because this shredded through Renala's first health bar. I made sure to back up after I killed her because I'm not getting hit by any books before the second phase like last time. But usually, as many of you know, if any of you guys have watched my previous videos, I kind of suck at Renala. But this time was way different. Since she can't get staggered out of this attack the first time, I did a jumping attack so I could get another one in afterwards. After I hit her for a couple more times, she did a leap away and then she started doing a comet. And I know you could stagger her out of this one. And then, wow, that is a lot of damage. I also had to apply Crag Blade. Couldn't even imagine what happened if I did. But now that Renala was down, the next step I was going to go for was to kill Morgoth. But first I had to go through Chronic Tree Sentinel, and I just decided to fight this guy normally. So after I popped all my buffs, I hit him a couple times until he jumped away, and then I absolutely shredded through half of this guy's HP bar in seconds. After learning this guy's moveset, thankfully he's not really hard, but you can almost strafe 90% of this guy's slam down attacks. So that was really good to know. Anyways, now that Draconic Tree Sentinel is down, we had access to land. Every time I come through the starting of this place, I always find a new way to jump down, and this time I jumped on this like little circle thingy. Kind of nice. It also was pretty good. I think it was faster than the other 2 ways I also used to take. Now that I was down here, there's an Erd tree that spawns that drops a Lord's Rune, which drops 50k, so I really needed to kill this guy. I needed money bad. Wait, did I just say money? Okay, guys, forget that. You didn't hear anything. But it was really time to kill this Erd tree now because I did need a lot of extra runes to upgrade. I procced a Frost on this guy, and afterwards, I always know this guy's next moveset because I practice Erd trees a lot just for this reason specifically. The only downside of fighting them is if you have a short weapon like I do, it's kind of hard to hit him sometimes, but it still is pretty easy. I had a pretty close call here, but as long as I just blocked when he was going to hit me, I would have been perfectly fine. Another reason why learning the Erd tree's moveset is so good is because you can always get a free 100k at the beginning of the game by fighting the one in Dragon Bar. But eventually, after a long fight, this Erd tree fell to the ground and I picked up the Lord's Rune. After getting this rune for 50k, I didn't use it yet because I was going to save it for a special something. But I started making my way up to Goldfree Shade. Goldfree Shade drops a talisman slot, so this was really good to get out pretty early on. But after a long adventure, I eventually made my way into Goldfree Shade's arena. I know Goldfree's moveset pretty well because it's literally the exact same as Godfrey's first phase. But since I had my claws not upgraded too much much to the max potential at this stage of the game, it wasn't doing a lot of damage. But I didn't really need to do a lot of damage since I knew this guy's moveset. Sadly, Gold-Free Shade cannot be procced with, I don't think, anything, because my Bleed or Frost wasn't working, but honestly, I think that's where most of my damage was coming from. That's probably why it looks like I'm not doing a lot. But after a while, I actually ended up getting a stagger on him, and this is what I was talking about. Even though I was using Cragblade and it was pretty late into the fight, getting a stagger is always useful. But again, this was just one of those fights that took a little bit of time, and I had to be patient and not do anything stupid. Luckily, I ended up taking Gold-Free Shade down on my first try. After Gold-Free Shade, I wanted to get my hands on Millicent's prosthesis. This talisman takes quite a bit to get, but with the power of editing, I can get it in under a minute. First, I talked to this weird chick at a church, then I talked to this weird guy sitting in a chair in a shack, then I had to kill this weird dude sitting in the middle of a swamp. Once I killed this weird dude, I had to go talk to the weird girl again, and she stabbed herself. Then the weird girl gave me a prosthesis wearing heirloom. I had to climb up this really weird ladder and grab this really weird Valkyrie's prosthesis, then go hand deliver it back to the weird girl again, and then play a game of tag with the weird girl. Looks like I won. She gave it to me. Yay. Since we won the game of tag, it's time for Morgott now. I popped all of my buffs, then right when I went in, I immediately used his shackle. As he was pinned against the ground, I started going ham on him with my claws. But I got a lot of damage off him, and when he started doing this, I just kept attacking him because I knew that he was going to transfer into his second phase. And then he tried to do his grab attack, which this is probably the easiest grab attack to dodge in the game. As he was trying to do this attack again, I procced a couple frostbites on him. And yep, there we go, he is dead. Melina gave me the roll down because our next boss on the list is the Fire Giant, so I started progressing through the mountaintops to get to him. Even though I got the bell bearing now, I just figured I would go up to Fire Giant and upgrade my weapons later. So that's exactly what I did, while I traversed my way all the way through the mountaintops up to the Fire Giant. Now it's time to fight Fire Giant. Luckily for me, I practiced Fire Giant a lot on one of my streams a couple days ago, and now I actually know how to fight his second phase without having to go for his every time. I can't believe that he did this at the start. He never usually does this, but luckily I was aware and I got out of there. Since he rolled away, I was predicting that he was either going to do his giant slam down or his jump attack, and he did the jump attack. And as you can see right here, I'm not really attacking, and this is because I was going to try to see how long it would take for me to break his brace. So I was counting in my head. As I started seeing him do this giant attack with a huge downtime, I knew this was going to be the one I would break his brace on. I was correct. Now I had full stamina, and after I broke it, I just went ham, and luckily I got a frostbite proc. After I procced this dude, he finally went into his second phase. I didn't want to do anything super risky because fighting this guy more than once just gets really annoying and you start making stupid decisions. So I decided once he would land his hands to do the fire pillars, I would just go crazy on his fingers. Sadly, I didn't get any procs in this time, but I was for sure building up the status quite a bit. He started doing his volcano eruption thingy, and I just didn't want anything to do with that, so I ran as far as possible. I also took this time to reapply Crag because he gives you a slight damage boost if you don't know. After taking a long time learning Fire Giant's moveset in his second phase, I can say for sure that it is 10 times better. After this dude tried to pop a whole WWE move on me, I got a couple hits in. Everybody here knows how stupid the Fire Giant's unlimited range flamethrower is. I mean, if you've ever played this game, you'd exactly know what I'm talking about. I mean, this thing bounces off of trees, goes through trees, and it comes back and ricochets at you? I don't know how that did not kill me because one of the fires went directly through my body, but I guess I'm just invincible. I don't know. Now that I know his moves, he can't just pull random stuff out of his to hit me with. It probably doesn't look like I'm doing so much damage, but actually I am. Compared to last time, however much damage I was doing like half as much. After getting these chain attacks in, he decided to roll away like a little baby that he is. What he usually does when I'm under him and hitting his inner legs, he always just rolls away after you hit him once. But if you're playing in front of him, he doesn't do that, and you have a lot more chances to attack. As you just saw there, I could easily get 3 cycles of attacks off, but normally if I go under him and try to hit him there, I possibly maybe get 1, maybe 2. But off that last cycle, I got a frost proc, which means a lot extra damage, and that was really nice to get. Also, I'm just now noticing how easy it was to learn this guy's moveset in the second phase rather than just sitting under him. And not even that, the damage is also just so crazy worth it. But anyways, he started to do this attack, so I backed off until all the flame of the fell gods disappeared. But Fire Giant was getting close to dying. dying, and hopefully I was able to do this in one try. He was throwing a lot of easy moves that I already had drilled in the back of my head, and then after those easy moves, he tried to do another WWE move. Bro, is this guy think he's John Cena? He did the fire thing again, so I started running away because I was not going to take any chances. I got a couple pokes in, and then I got out of there. There is one move that he hasn't done this entire fight that I still knew of, but I just didn't see it. I don't know if it was a really rare attack, but it was this one right here. Luckily though, I just kept calm and I dodged it perfectly. Maybe I dodged a little early, but luckily I didn't get hit. And with the frost proc, the fire giant has been defeated. I took Melissa's hand and she burned the Erd Tree, then took me to Fair Missoula. Like I said before, using Assassin's Gambit in any item that make noise that you could throw, it is just so much easier to get through places. So using these two items, I made my way through Fair Missoula to the Dragon Temple, but I had to go kill Kennethite because he got in my way. Listen guys, he attacked me first. But the real reason I was coming over here was to grab the Fever's cookbook so I can make sleep pots. Sleep pots don't really script the Godskin duel fight, but they sure as hell make it a lot easier. So I went inside of the arena, popped Assassin's Gambit, and threw a couple sleep pots in the air, hoping that it would sleep them. But really unfortunate thing took turn. You see, my Assassin's Gambit ran out right as I threw the sleep pots, but it wasn't too much of a problem because I just had to wait for Skinny to dodge. If you wait for Skinny to dodge once in his first phase, he will always just stand there and throw a ball at you, so it's just a perfect time to throw a sleep pot. But eventually, I had them both secured down and sleeping. But I just propped Val and Shabriri and went crazy on the fat one like everybody should. And to be honest, the damage we were doing earlier, I really did not expect this. I mean, I know they were sleeping and I was going crazy on them, but still, that is a lot of damage. I can't even imagine using Lord of Blood's white mask and all the other buffs on these claws. But if there's one thing I should have done, I probably should have been smarter and grabbed Red Feather for this fight, since they really can't fight back and I could have used the extra damage. But as soon as the fat one spawned back in, I knew this was over because you just have to count to 10 seconds and throw a sleep pot and he always will be slept. Well, that's if you know how to count to 10. But anyways, Godskin Duo was down and that was the easiest fight I've ever had in my life. Now it is on to Malekith, and thankfully for my boy Gio Buscino, I learned about this Fair Missoula skin. I cannot believe I was running a full marathon extra when I could have just been doing this the whole time. I died a couple times on it, but I soon got the hang of it, and once you do it, you could just climb this ladder all the way besides the Great Bridge. But now it is time for Malekith. Before I went into the arena, I popped Golden and Shabriri just for some extra damage, and the first attempt, well, it didn't go as planned. The second attempt was going better, but I got sunlocked and slapped harder than one of those guys that do it for fun. After the slapping, the next attempt I did, I managed to get him into his second phase again. But I kind of dodged straight into the Blade of Gold slam down. Listen guys, it's late, that's my excuse, alright? I got hit with some rocks, then I got diced up again. And next attempt, well, next attempt was it. Before I went into the arena, I propped Val and Shabriri, but I forgot to do Cragblade. I guess I was just getting tired of this guy and I wanted to kill him. But I specifically waited for his slam down attack for a nice fully charged and a light attack combo. The next time he did this lunge attack, I managed to get another fully charged hit off. But I have PTSD and I just decided to be safe and only do one. But luckily I'm doing a good amount of damage because I got the Smithing Stone Bell Bearing 4, which is the last one from the Godskin duo, and I upgraded my claws almost to max. And thankfully, even though my claws weren't really maxed out, the Frostbite and the Bleed having two status effects is just so nice to have. Malekith kept trying to throw a bunch of attacks at me, but luckily this one pattern is really easy to follow and get a lot of damage off the Beast Clergyman phase. I ended up also proccing him with Frostbite. But it was about now that I started getting him into his second phase, and this is where stuff started to get a little more fun. It's a pretty standard fight off of the start. You just kind of have to be careful with where you go and how you position your character. After I dodged the Blade of Gold attack, he looked at a wall, and then he did his Blade of Death attack, which I perfectly got out of. Just kidding, I myself trying to get out of it. But anyways, we're not going to worry about that. We're just going to worry about that I got out of it. You know, alive. Finally. But anyways, last time I died on Malekith, I got a little too aggressive and he killed me with his Blade of Gold. So I was gonna play a little bit more safe. After I ended up getting a Frost proc on him, he tried to do his normal attacks again and I just kept getting under him for a lot of damage. He did his double swing and I'm pretty sure if you roll to the left far enough, you don't have to double dash, but I did it anyways. There's a couple things that I figured out that are really useful to know during the Malekith fight. I have a really hard time dodging the three things he shoots at you and then the follow up with the Blade of Gold. But But luckily, I figured out if you just go close to him, you could actually bait a slam down, and this was a lot easier to dodge. And this is what I was talking about with the double dash. If you just dodge far enough left, you could actually just start hitting him and get some damage. But I wouldn't say it's worth it, because it sounds stupid, but it's actually RNG, because some of his next moves actually push you into the blade. But anyways, Malekith has been defeated, and now we can go on to the Ashen Capital. The first thing I did here was go kill Gideon, and is it crazy that I just figured out you can backstab him? I cannot believe that I just figured this out. This would have been so nice to know on my other playthroughs. And if you have something like Square Off, pairing it with like something like a Dagger Talisman that increases critical damage, or like Ritual Sword or Red Feather, oh, that would have been so nice to know. Thankfully, I killed Gideon first try and not 50. And if I see one comment about a power stance Golem Halberd, I'm going to find where you live. Anyways, let's move on to the Godfrey fight. Like I said earlier, fighting Godfrey Shade, I fight Godfrey a lot, and I know a lot of his moveset and how to exploit most of his moves. And now that we're getting into later bosses, I'm starting to realize how kind of mid the claws are without setting them up correctly. Whoa, claw users, don't come after me. I said if I set them up correctly. Sure, I could have put a bunch of stuff on like Lord of Bloods and White Mask, but I really wasn't going for a pure DPS run anyways, so I guess it kind of worked out, and I knew most of these bosses' movesets in my head already. But later on in the fight, I procced a Frost on Godfrey, and this did quite a nice sustainable amount of damage. But it was about now that I was nearing his second phase, and I wanted to be prepared by having a full stamina bar, but something else took a turn. Do you guys remember how I was talking about the stance damage on these claws earlier, right? Well, I totally did not expect to stagger Hoaraloo here. I for sure thought I would have finished the fight before even staggering him, but I guess not. Maybe I have been underestimating the stance damage. Maybe it's not as bad as I think. But anyways, down goes Godfrey, and now on to Malenia. First up, we had to go and kill Commander Nile. Luckily, this was very easy with the claws, and I picked up both sides of the Haligtree medallion. Poor Albus keeps getting killed. 100 likes and I'll spare him next video. But I opened the hidden path to the Haligtree, and now I had to go make my way to Ordina to complete the Everjail. This Everjail is a bit tricky, but with a lot of practice, you can get through these pretty fast. Making my way to the Haligtree, my game just decided to crash. But our next boss is going to be Loretta, so let's make our way over there first. Thankfully, Loretta and the Draconic Tree Sentinel both were really easy bosses, and I'm not sure is it because they're horse bosses, but I feel like it is because you could stagger them pretty easily. But after I killed Loretta, I finally made my way to the Haligtree in less than a minute thanks to the power of editing. But now it was time. So the first thing I did when I entered the boss fight, my game crashed. Again. As soon as I came back, I got pieced up by waterfowl. Great way to come back. But next attempt, it was a lot different. Actually it wasn't. I'm not even sure what I was doing here. What's my excuse for this one? My dog was playing. Yep, that's it. But after I took my controller back from the dog, I actually started doing pretty decent on my next attempt. I'm not sure why, but she delayed her waterfowl a lot this time, and I'm not sure why, like I said, but, you know, I'm fine with it. Screw that attack. But then, finally, once I knocked some sense into her, she actually realized now she has to do it, and, you know, what can I say? I'm just, you know, the best at dodging waterfowl. But the fight kept going on, and I was doing pretty good. I was doing really good damage, and just being smart in general with my attack. And as soon as we got into second phase, I just felt like I was doing even better. But finally, this was the run. I did not die to Malenia the rest of the run. Alright, it was my cat this time, but let's just move on to the next attempt, and I actually prepared pretty well this time. I actually decided to pop my buffs, because I was just kind of going in there just to get a feel on how it was going. But luckily, I was getting really lucky with her attack patterns, and the RNG went pretty crazy. I was getting a lot of those ones you could kind of sneak hits in after. And then at this point, she decided to bring out another waterfowl, but you know me, guys. I don't miss a waterfowl. Just don't rewind the video. I dodged in just for a little bit of extra damage. Sadly, my Crag Blade has wore off by this time, so I wasn't going to be doing a lot more damage, but it was still okay because it wasn't too much added on. But at this point, I was kind of doing a lot of damage, and luckily, I got a Frost proc on her, and then she did the long wind up on the Scissor attack. This is also what I was talking about when I was saying I was getting good RNG on some attacks. I mean, after the grab, another lunge, and then a staggerable attack, like, it couldn't have been more perfect. And now we are entering the second phase. The Goddess of Rot phase is really weird. There's some new attacks that you really gotta watch out for, like the Phantom Spirit. And, I'm not the only one that sometimes can't see her attacks past her wings, right? Just me? okay. But now she did the Phantom Spirit attack, and if you can get past the first one, you just run away, and it is the easiest thing to dodge. You just have to watch out for the fourth one and then her lunge. But then after another one of her lunges, she started shooting off another Scarlet Aeonia. After the Scarlet Aeonia, I got a little bit of damage in, and then she started doing a waterfall, and luckily the circling helps so much to learn. And after the waterfall, she kind of just did her normal moves. After I saw the long windup off the prosthetic slices attack, I knew this was also going to be a good time to get a charge attack in. But as the fight went on, I kept getting closer and closer to defeating her. This is also another attack that has a really long windup, and if anybody knows if you could circle the second part of that attack, please let me know in the comments, because that would be really useful. But after her grab, she did another slam down, and this is also another perfect opportunity to get a fully charged hit off. I really thought she had me on this waterfowl, but luckily I was just out of distance. And like I said before, I was trying to be really careful here, so I wasn't gonna get too greedy, but she started shooting off another Scarlet Aeonia. And after the Scarlet Aeonia, she was so low that I just rushed in to get the final blow. This was a very interesting fight. I'm not sure how I feel about using claws on her, but it really wasn't that bad. But now, up next is Radagon in the Elden Beast. I started the fight by just trying to go ham on him so I can maybe get a frost proc. I feel like the most deadly part of this fight is the quick stomps for me, because they're just too quick sometimes and I just cannot be expecting them. And also, after a while, it really helps to know that you can actually circle some of Radagon's attacks like this one right here. And then he started doing his scripted jump attack. Now, like I said before, I never really fought Radagon with claws or just used claws in general, so I never knew when I was gonna actually get his stagger. But actually, to my surprise, I didn't really think that Radagon was going to stagger. I know he doesn't have so much poise, but still. But anyways, Radagon was dead, and now it was just the Elden Beast. I rebuffed with Cragblade just to see if it would make any of a difference stance damage wise. And I'm not gonna lie, I really couldn't tell because claws don't do a lot of stance damage in general, so it's kind of hard to tell. But the usual fight was going pretty smooth, and it was just kind of your typical Elden Beast fight. I was gonna predict I was either gonna get a stagger halfway or a little below half health, but to my surprise, it actually staggered above half health. And Elden Beast has a very long downtime, so take your chances and get a lot of hits in while you can. Once I took my riposte, I planned to get a fully charged off before and as he was trying to run away, and it kind of worked. But I was either going to think that he was going to do his circles or something else here, but to my surprise, he actually did it. I don't know if I was just getting really good RNG on this fight, but he hasn't done a single circle move or Elden Stars. But luckily for me, I got a hit in, and as he was running away, I got one more in just for good measure. And now he was finally going to do his... Oh, I guess not. I don't know what's going on here. I must just be getting some crazy RNG, but he ended up finally doing it. And then after the one circle attack, he finally let out Elden Stars. And as you guys know, Elden Stars is my worst nightmare, but I was trying to just get a repost before Elden Stars ran out, but I ended up just running away. After his circle attack, for sure I thought I would have him here, and this was it, right? Well, after the wave of gold, I got a couple extra charge attacks in, and there we go, everybody. We just beat the game while only using claws. I am going to cry myself to sleep. And nice, had to go through this dude again. But I mean, at least this guy doesn't do such bad attacks like, say, another boss. Just kidding, I got stomped. But I guess the good thing about this is, going back and watching the footage, I can kind of see stuff that I didn't know earlier. Like, after the laser thing that he shoots out, he always goes for a grab. And the double attack that you just saw previously, I could totally get a light attack in before there. Well, I guess there's one pro out of the 600 cons about sitting here and watching my footage for 12 hours straight editing. He did his scripted jump attack now, and obviously there's always going to be the big slam down afterwards. And instead of going for an attack straight away, I have to position myself to where I won't go to his side when I attack. Yep, I really don't know how that hit me. That and the teleporting screws me over every time. And after his jump attack, I'm actually now looking back at this, and these claws aren't doing a bad amount of damage at all. I mean, they're sure not better than, say, Starfist, but still, that's quite a bit of damage. But at least it has a reliable damage source, not like the bows. Bow people, please do not come after me, I'm just joking. But anyways, now it was on to Elden Beast, and I always start off by doing 2 full charge attacks because I didn't really know when I was gonna stance break him. It was kind of random. But before he got away, I got a nice little hit off before, and then he also started doing this attack, and These are the ones I struggle with the most, but I barely got out with a sliver of health left. And then, hey, look at that. I finally actually ended up getting a stagger. And now that I have a lot of stamina, I can get a max potential damage off this. And honestly, I didn't even realize how long that was. I probably could have got another one, but I would much rather be safe than sorry. And then after I got my final charge attack off, I was planning just to go for him before I died. And finally, we just beat Elden Ring, but we only used... Well, I guess I don't have an excuse for that one. No more animals left, sadly. But one really good thing is I did have a really smooth Radagon fight this time, so at least that was giving me a break. So now, surely this has got to be the time that I kill Elden Beast, right? Well, there's a kind of a mix of some BS in here. Nah, but actually, how did that hit me? Luckily, I did manage to get another smooth Radagon fight, which is always good because I don't want to have to just kill this guy and die every time. Well, come on, guys. That's not my fault, right? Well, I guess I spoke too soon because we were heading straight back to Mr. Radagon. I got kind of lucky because right before his jump attack, I procced a frost which did upwards of 2k damage. Thankfully, I knowed my mistakes from last time and I actually took a second to reposition myself before I went crazy. And thankfully, we had another pretty smooth fight with Radagon. And then right when Elden Beast was doing this attack again, oh my gosh, thankfully, another smooth fight with Radagon, and now on to my favorite boss of the game, yay. But thankfully this time, the Greater Will, whatever this thing is called, gave me some pretty good RNG this time. So what I'm noticing from this fight is a couple things, but the main thing I want to say is that I don't think you can stagger Elden Beast out of his Elden Stars animation. And someone please correct me if I'm wrong, but it was happening to me a lot. And then right as he got done with his animation, he staggered. But honestly, it wasn't so bad because I was going to time the repost because you have unlimited iframes when you're in an animation. Thankfully that worked, and now he was doing his triple circle attack, and he kind of went right where I was at, and this was really good because I got a couple attacks in. And then soon he ran away, but as I saw his sword lifting up on his left hand side, I just ran in there hoping not to get hit by the delayed wave. Luckily I didn't, and I got a lot of damage off, and then he tried to put me in his hamster ball that I dodged perfectly as well. And then we finally kill this guy. I mean, I don't know why I had so much trouble with this guy, but thankfully he's dead now. Before you guys all click off the video, I just want to say thank you guys to watching to the very end. This took me a long time to edit, and I would very much appreciate it if you could like and subscribe. If not, I totally get it, no worries, but I hope you guys at least enjoyed the video. And to all the people who've been showing up for my streams recently, I just want to say thank you to you guys too. It's been going crazy on there, and I really enjoy doing it. But I don't really have a plan for a long outro today. I just wanted to say thank you, and I will hope to see you guys in my next video. Peace out, have a great rest of your guys' days or nights.